Hey everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is, of course, our 113th episode is May 25th, 2019. We were supposed to have a guest today, but Ed Healy was supposed to be joining us. He's been having some issues. He's hoping that he can perhaps still join us today. If not, we'll have to reschedule him for another week. It's just at the last second here, some things have come up, and we're still hoping for the best, that we can pop him in here and get the interview started with him. We'll see if that occurs. If not, another week is always not a bad thing. But we do have still a number of topics to talk about this week in the meantime, and we can get started on that. So this week, Joe and I will start the discussion off with some Magic the Gathering. Modern Horizons has announced some things, and it includes the return of Slivers of the classic format and ninjas. And that's what I wanted to focus on. They're interesting things to bring to Modern Horizons as it is, and I just want to discuss it a little bit because they're very, very unusual, and in some ways apparently popular groups of creatures to use. Then City of Mists, the RPG, has its starter set out. We want to talk about that. I think we've talked a little bit about Cities of Mist before, but never dived into it. Star Trek DS9 Fluxx has been released. We talked about the previous Star Trek, the original series, and the next gen, and now they have the DS9 one, and how different that will be. Then we have the Musuem board game has been released by Holy Grail Games. Sorry about that. Lost that in my brain for a second. It's all about it belonging in a museum, which I've made jokes about before in various places. But now we can talk about it some more. And then Pandemic Rapid Response, which is a pandemic game that is different from other ones, as it has a time-based aspect to it. So it does have a little hourglass that you're going to use for the rapid response aspect of the game itself. Let's start with Magic. Modern Horizons. Now, Modern Horizons, as I've seen it, it was supposed to be like new cards, specifically made to be in the modern format, so modern legal. They were announcing that this would be for the format, which is cool, that they're putting something directly into that format. It's a format that exists since, I think, Mirrodin was the first one in Modern, because it's the modern version of the cards.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that was the first set that had the modern format of how the cards look. So since Mirrodin, we've had Modern, and this has got cards that are going directly into this. And then it's also supposed to have, other than the new ones, reprints that have not been in Modern before. Which I have seen a few that I've, like, if I'm talking about that end, things like I did see that they have, like, Spore Frog, which I love Spore Frog, personally. So I'm all for Spore Frog showing up in the set. I mean, I don't play Modern enough, really, but if they're putting it into Modern, more power to them. Now, the two things that I've seen that they're planning, that they've showed off a bunch of, some of them, Slivers, and shown off a little bit of the other one, Ninjas, are two, I guess, they really end up being more than just creature types. They end up being deck types. For the Slivers, they have a whole bunch of Slivers. The thing about Slivers is they are wording them, I think, closer to the classic versions of Slivers.
I love Slivers.
Yeah, I do too. I do. And they have a new legendary one, which is looking really cool. One that I had a card that would do the exact same thing, but now they're doing Slivers for it. I had Maelstrom Nexus in my Sliver deck, and that's the one that gives all your spells cast. This first spell you cast Cascade each turn. This one is all Slivers have Cascade.
Ah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's very powerful, because Cascade has always been, like, a very powerful ability, and I guess it's popular in Modern because of its power level. So that's cool. And of course, there's some other Slivers that are probably kind of new. Like, they've got one that gives, it's a rare one that gives all Slivers flying and haste. And that's cool because I would replace the ones that give flying and haste in my deck. You know?
Right.
And there's a bunch of other ones that give very cool abilities. Definitely a lot of neat things. And they've got snow-covered lands coming back, but not getting into... That's just, one of the weird things. Not getting into, like, too many details about the set itself. I wanted to really talk about the fact that we are seeing, like, in a classic way, Slivers and ninjas getting stuff like that.
Although I never liked ninjas.
Ninjas, I thought, were a weird thing and interesting, but they were kind of difficult to play with, and they were very blue-black, because those were the colors of ninjas. So it felt like it was some of the worst aspects of blue-black if you're, dicking with people. It was basically that you attacked with a creature, and you replaced that creature with your ninja after it was unblocked. That was the ability. You pay a mana cost to be like, oh, now this is hitting you instead. I mean, I can't say that there aren't other things like that, but you play off of things like unblockable creatures or things like that have fear or menace, and then you can make it very deadly, because then you can be like, well, you can't block it anyway, so then I can just ninja in a ninja.
Yep. I ninja your ninja into ninjadom.
I wonder if you could do that. Most of them have to deal combat damage, but if you had something that, like, when a creature came into play, it's... Because it says, return an unblocked creature you control to your hand, put this creature in the battlefield from your hand, and attacking. So it basically replaces it. You could do that. Would you be able to do that again and again, and then trigger a bunch of come-into-play abilities, maybe, by doing that? I wonder. See,
I don't know. That would be just gross, and I don't want to even think about it.
It would be weird. It would be very weird. But I mean, like, really, again, without diving too deep into the set itself, because I don't want to, like, do that right now, maybe until we can see more of what they're building out. Because they are really taking a lot of random stuff from a lot of random places. Let me put it that way. From what I've seen, there's a lot of abilities in here that are taken from sets that I did not know if I would see these abilities ever again, and they're putting new cards on them. So that's just the thing about it. But for the Slivers, yeah, I think I'm very excited in a way to see them, because I liked Slivers a lot. I played with them. I've got a Sliver deck. I would not mind adding more to that deck. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And the ninjas, I didn't know they were that popular. That's one of those things about the Kamigawa block. That the Kamigawa block is always this weird aspect of Magic's history, because it didn't do well technically. But it's got, like, a lot of people that do enjoy it, but is it enough because it was financially kind of awful, It was Mirrored and Block, which did well, and then after it was the first Ravnica block, which did really well, but in the middle is Mirrodin and, or not the Mirrodin, Kamigawa block, and it was just, like, there was a lot of awful things to it, I think. Maybe ninjas weren't the awful thing, but, like, I was reading up on one of the ninjas they were talking about and why they did it a little bit on Magic's site, and it's because there was apparently a high demand for ninjas. What? I wouldn't even think about that. Like, in a modern set, that would be something that people would give demand for?
Yeah. I guess there's people out there who are huge fans of
ninjas.
The dickiness of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, again, it's like me. And it's all of us occasionally, I guess, like playing a blue-black deck that just dicks with people. And I think it's the same thing. It's a blue-black deck that just dicks with people. I think it's just that it's a very weird mechanic, which is a little different from some of the other I dick with you mechanics that are out there. Like,
yeah,
like, it's because it's like sudden attacks, unlike, let's say, bouncing to someone's hand. Well, you can always replay it. Or like discarding cards. Yeah, that sucks too. but it's usually not like, something that if you play something right away on your turn, you don't have to worry about it. Other like blue-black mechanics, like milling a deck. Yeah, that sucks. But normally you have 60 cards, and you could usually still come up with something. But that's sudden damage. The good example would be the ninja that they showed off to prove it all. It's a 5/4. I'm sorry, that's 5 damage you could sneak in there with that one. That's a lot of damage very quickly. And the thing is, its special ability is pretty mean, too. It's when it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library, and so end of turn, you may play those cards without playing its mana cost. Basically, you can steal 2 cards from an opponent. Now, it might not be anything. It could be 2 lands. But it could be something really awesome that you're just like, well, I'm stealing that now, and I snuck that in. The ability to easily sneak that in with just an unblockable creature, which would be very cheap, it's kind of ridiculous in a way, and I do have to say that. And that's the thing is, I think we're going to see a lot of in Modern Horizons when we really break it down, is that we don't realize when you plan for Modern, you're planning for an entirely different power level because you're planning for a whole bunch of cards. It's like if they did like a Legacy or a Vintage set. I'm sure the power level on those would be insane, because you're planning for using things still like Moxes and stuff in your decks. So you got to plan around having that going Versit, or the original dual lands. Modern, there are a lot of crazy things that are still out there in Modern. I think that's something that I believe I had heard before discussed, is that we were going to see this set be on an entirely another power level. Just because of that.
Right.
So. I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Return of Slivers again. That one, I've always liked Slivers. They're an interesting creature. The idea that they play off of each other very well. Yes, the modern Slivers. And the thing is, these have the appearance of the old Slivers, but they have the text of the modern Slivers, of the Sliver creatures you control. I guess that's something that they really changed it when they led into... Oh, God. Whatever core set that they had Slivers in, that they reintroduced them. I can't remember which core set they had that in. But when they reintroduced it, they brought about that idea. And they're continuing it here. Which is fine. And then ninjas. They're claiming they're going to put... I know. They're claiming they're going to do more, but I haven't seen anything on it yet. Like, I haven't seen any, like, anything in the set just by looking through it. But again, like, the MTJ Salvation, which I normally use for spoilers, doesn't have the legendary sliver out there yet, even though I have seen pictures of it. I think they showed it off on Wizard's site, but for whatever reason they don't have that here. I don't know. Exactly. Neither of us know, because, we'll probably see it soon.
Because you know.
Because you really, really know, know. My musical flourishings are awesome, may I note. Oh, yep. Hey, they brought back Crypt Rats. Good old Crypt Rats that deal damage by tapping and ratting. They're crypty.
How cryptic of you.
I know, I'm that way. I'm just very cryptic. I can make a lot of these jokes, and they're going to be all awful, so I should probably stop before I continue into the levels of awfulness that I've already begun. Anyway, keep an eye out. Modern Horizons. I think we'll talk about it at least once or twice. Well, at least once more, I'd say. Maybe not twice more. We'll talk about it at least once more before it comes out. Maybe after we know, like, kind of everything that's coming out. And
right.
That should be in a few weeks, so that we can, dive into a little bit of what we've seen from it. But all right, let's move on though, because I do want to get some more topics in here before we might have to pop out for the day as usual. Let's talk about... I should have had this image up. Well, I forgot. Let's talk about... I will adjust this one here. City of Mists. Oh boy. That's... So City of Mists is a... They say it's a it's like kind of detective-y, but it's also like... It's a noir one with people with special powers. So it's like...
Comic book film noir RPG.
Yeah. You know. So it definitely has a very different feel from a lot of other... like, as we've seen now, some noir games are coming out nowadays. Most of the time that they're noir games, they're being very classic detective games. This one, they are doing a lot... I don't know if you'd call it supernatural. They're calling it, like super powered. So it's like it's noir superheroes almost, which is
Batman with superpowers.
Yeah, Batman with superpowers. Actually,
oh God, Batman.
Oh God, Batman. Which I mean is a fine thing. I don't mind the idea of it at all. I definitely like some very interesting genre mixing nowadays. I think that's one of the big things that we see and are really cool to notice, at least when it comes to RPGs that set them up. But this is the starter set has actually come out. Oh my God, it's an itch. So
I want to be the Batman Wolverine mixed crossover.
So granted, like I don't know if they have a quick start guide for City of Mist. I didn't notice. They did.
It says if you buy the thing, you get 7 pre-generated characters, 2 sample cases, player move sheet, MC moves and tracking sheet, crew theme sheet, and printable status spectrum card sheet. That's what you get for $22.
They do have a starter set PDF, which is free. That you can check out. Yeah. So they basically are selling. They are selling a physical copy of a starter set, which has a lot of stuff. But they do have a PDF guide, which is 0. So I feel that's very interesting. That you can buy like the actual box, or you can get just a PDF. Granted, it's got a lot of stuff which is, they call it print friendly, but it's probably not really that great of a quality for print friendly kind of things. Like, there have been stuff that I've seen in books that they say are print friendly that I'm like, I don't really want to print this out.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think a lot of role playing has been moving more and more to online.
Oh yeah, no, PDFs are much bigger nowadays.
So you don't even need to have. It don't really matter how print friendly it really is anymore.
No, and a lot of people still like getting the books anyway. Even if you get the PDFs, at least getting a couple of the books, here and there. It's you get your favorite books, and maybe you get PDFs for stuff that you might need otherwise. That was a weird sound. Anyway, I do like the fact that, we have this starter set here that you can get for $22. That's all the stuff that's in it. That's a lot of nice stuff. The 2 sample cases, the 7 pre-generated characters, a player's move sheets, MC moves and tracking sheets, crew theme sheets, printable status spectrum cards. And then you've got the PDF version of it for free. I think that's actually really cool. I think it's the kind of thing that if I would see it, it would make me possibly want to look into this thing. It's an interesting direction to take it, definitely, because it's that, it is the same thing almost, but maybe like if we would compare them, it definitely would make you feel like I should get the $22 one because it's so cool and printable, things like that.
Yeah.
And, as I've said a lot lately, I'm glad to see these kind of things anyway. The idea of, like, a free version of stuff to check it out, more or less.
Yeah, you give it a try to make sure it's something you're interested in. I always think it's a good idea. It gives good feels.
Yes.
Because then you feel like, okay, the company does want to make sure I like this.
No, and that's I think it's one of those things is I like these things, but I know that definitely you kind of have to like think about where they sit in the grand scheme of things. I think they're a good idea, but I'm curious as to how they affect the businesses. That's something I've been thinking about too a lot for these things. Is how like some of them are really simple, and then you understand like this isn't going to be a lot. It's not really going to do a lot. But this one is one of those ones that I'm curious as to how this affects the sale of the actual physical starter set.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't know if you're getting everything the physical has.
That's also what I was thinking of too. That's definitely something.
I'm downloading it right now.
I am too. So maybe we can.
I actually just finished. So I am opening it.
I'll let you open it this time.
Let's see. It has the playbooks, extras, sample cases, and the main starter rules.
I'm gonna make what I should have done, an RPGs to test folder, which I haven't done in forever yet. So now I will have it. Yay! Things I keep not doing that I should do. Okay. So I mean, yeah. I think I've kind of made my point of like I'd be curious as to how this affects the entire sales of everything too.
Yeah, no, I agree because it does seem to contain everything.
Yeah. Is it just quality that makes you feel like you should maybe get the other one?
I think sometimes that comes down to if I really like a system, I'd rather have the hardbound books for it.
No, I agree. That was like one of those things is like I probably could have gotten the PDF of the Star Trek game a lot cheaper, but I bought the book because it's like I like having the books, especially just the core book. Like for me, I would probably prefer at this point in time to get the PDFs of everything else because they're cheaper. But having a physical copy of a book is cool, you know?
Yeah. But also for you right now too, though, you're doing a lot of it over the internet. So having the PDFs makes more sense.
True.
Because you're already looking at your screen, it's easy to reference.
Maybe not sometimes. I would say, like, as someone that uses the Vampire, because we do V20 on my Vampire game, I feel like if I had the physical book in front of me, it would be a lot easier. It tends to be difficult to look up things sometimes because you have to reference things a lot of time. And it sometimes requires a little bit of math in my brain, too. I can't bookmark stuff as easy. You probably could set up bookmarks and stuff, too. But I don't, I haven't figured that out on PDFs enough. That's just my lack of technical knowledge.
You can bookmark stuff easily.
That's just my lack of technical knowledge. Yeah. And then, like, just bookmarking a few things I don't think would be enough anyway. There are plenty of stuff that I just have had to randomly look up that have taken a little time to do. Maybe it would take less. I feel like just from the nature of how I've done it, it would probably have taken less time to go through it with a book in front of me.
I mean, I can understand that. It also depends on
the book and the material.
If it's also like if they made the PDF in a way that it's searchable and stuff.
Yes, and book and material, because I have to say, god awful are vampire books normally. The fluff,
everything's kind of scattered around,
and fluff gets in the way a lot.
Yeah, but that's the thing is also if it's a searchable PDF, then it can be a lot quicker than just having the book because you're gonna be like,
true. So there's a lot of details that you would have to look at to which would be better. But again, also it is that personal preference of sometimes having the book in front of you, which is something that I like to have personally. So
yeah. Well, that's just like occasionally I miss rolling wheel dice.
Yes. Like, I think that's a prerogative that, like, let's say if I wanted to do that as a DM or GM online, I could probably do that. Because normally I have to type in something to hide my rolls, which is the exact same as just rolling it. Granted, like, I do feel that as someone that puts those rolls up on screen for people to see, I think that's a little better for me. Just, in the nature of it, that's why it's like...
Unless you set up a separate dice cam.
Yes. Which would be something that wouldn't be bad. I do always feel like there are times I need a second camera. Like if I want to do things with like showing off physical magic cards, a second camera would be great, and I have not had one. But yeah, it's a lot easier just to type /GM roll and put a dice in to do it. Because most of the time, the only dice rolls I try to hide are like for something like D&D, the D20s. Or for, like, Vampire, it's just, like, a couple, like, I can just put in, like, 4d10. And then if I need to roll something else for, like, damage or something, like, oh, you were hit, I can just roll damage in front of people and be like, well, there's your stuff. I don't have to hide it anymore. But,
right.
Anyway, but getting back to City of Mist, the starter set is out now, if you want to check it out. It's a great way for you to check this out. And the PDF is free, so that'd be a really great way to check it out. And I definitely would suggest, if you get really into it, go buy the stuff. Support the company. At least buy they have a player's guide that's for sale, and the starter set in physical form is for sale too. So, New Aura, superpowers, sounds like a cool thing. It's a lot of Modifius's games sound really awesome, and as someone that's played their Star Trek system and can say, it was really awesome, they do awesome stuff, We played their Star Trek. It was really awesome. Let's pop on to the next topic, though, because we still have some. I haven't heard from Ed, which I'm feeling very bad about. I hope everything is okay with him. We haven't heard a lot in a bit, so...
Yeah, hopefully it was just a miscommunication of time or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like it was maybe something technical, but maybe some kind of confusion happened on his end. I don't know.
Or maybe something popped up in his schedule that he had to take care of and he didn't get a chance to respond.
All these things are possibilities. We'll find out hopefully soon, and hopefully get to reschedule. But let's talk about Star Trek DS9 Fluxx. Now, this is one of those unusual ones that I've been thinking about, like when they started doing it, the first set of them. They did original and they did next gen for Fluxxes. Okay, so they could do more of them. Great. But it's like one of those things is, do you really need to do so many? They are different yet similar as those things,
Well, I think each one can be its own thing because,
sure,
especially DS9, you could have stuff specific to the Dominion more, specific to the station. It was a show of many firsts.
Yeah, well, they do say, the Creepers are, the Founders and the Jem'Hadar are Creepers, which makes sense. And you can do things
they are Creepers.
Yeah. Yeah. And, of course, they've got, for the Keepers that are characters, you've got Benjamin Sisko, Quark, Jesse Dash, Worf, and all the other station personnel. They've got things, as you try to... Apparently, there's a mechanic for gathering gold plus platinum and studying the wormhole and stuff like that, Let me try to... It's hard to view the cards that they're showing off here, is the thing. Just to see off some of them with the basics, Oh, they do have a card list. Oh, that's wonderful.
Nice.
They've got a lot of interesting goals, a bunch of new rules, a bunch of keepers, like Gold Press Platinum, the Deep Space Nine itself, a lot of the characters, a couple surprises. I mean...
The Vorta definitely should also be a creeper.
I mean, they put him as a keeper, one of them.
The Vorta?
Wayun. I remember his name.
Oh, Wayun.
Yes.
But which one of him?
I don't know. Which one of his many poor clones?
Maybe it's the one that tried to abandon the founders. Defect. That's the word I was trying to find. Defect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they say that this works with their... If you use their Star Trek Bridge expansion, that allows you to combine those two games. I'm wondering if they'll do something small like that to combine this one with the rest of them.
Possibly.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Because then you could play all your Star Treks together. I don't know.
You got your DS9 in my TNG.
Ew. It's like peanut butter and chocolate together. Does it go great together? We'll not find out until it accidentally happens. And then someone says,
what would be a little weirder would be you got your TNG in my Voyager.
Oh god. Was there a problem? I think
because at least DS9 and TNG did exist at the same time.
True.
And there was stuff between them here and there. TNG was not around still when Voyager came out, so that'd be weird.
Yeah, and the fact is that we may still see more of the more Fluxxes that are from Star Trek. They probably might do a Voyager. They might do an Enterprise one. They
what
might
about
even
an STD?
God, I was going to say they might even do Discovery because it still goes. I don't know. I think people are happier with the new season of that, but that's an entirely different thing about, like going into that one. The first one, it was hard. I haven't finished it because it was hard to get through, let alone getting into the second one. I got to the back end of the first one. I may finish it someday.
I haven't never seen all of the first one. I saw the first 2 episodes and was like, I'm not paying for this.
Yeah, no. It's one of those things that it would be like, if you want to pay for it after it's all out and watch all of it at once.
Even then, I'm not willing to part with even $10 to Sweet Health.
It's a thing. It's probably not worth money thing. I'll put it that way.
I just have so many issues with that show.
Well, when they do other Star Trek shows, they might be less awful.
I'm looking forward to the Picard series, but at the same time, it's going to be in the same universe. It's still going to be all under the alternate license. So that worries me. And it's been going through production hell as well.
I haven't heard a lot about it.
Oh yeah, it's been They were supposed to start taping, I think, 2 months ago. And they haven't yet.
Huh.
Yeah, it has not been in a good spot.
They put out a teaser trailer, apparently, 2 days ago.
Or maybe it did start taping now. No, it was last month that they were still... Like, it was still up in the air when they were going to start taping. Like, they paid all the actors to basically do nothing for a month.
Huh.
Just to keep them. Because everything was pushed back. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it seems the premise is, he's kind of retired and working on his archaeology stuff.
And being drawn back into more Starfleety stuff, I think was the entire idea, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of has like a roguish crew.
Yeah, no. I'll see the teaser trailer after we're done here, and I'll check that out and see what it consists of. So, I mean...
Yeah. But anyway, I'll stop rambling on about my complaints.
It's fine. It's acceptable. So let's talk more about this, though. I don't know. I think we're kind of in the end.
I don't know what else to say about Fluxx.
Yeah, it's a Fluxx game. Fluxx games are fun.
Yeah, I mean, Fluxes are fun. It's another version of Fluxx.
Yeah, and so that's like it kind of gets me in a place of like, well, great, it's another version of Fluxx, and we are seeing a lot of these Star Trek Fluxes, which again isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you got your favorite, you got your favorite. If you want to get them all, you can get them all. That's the kind of thing.
Gotta get them all. Gotta catch them all.
And as much as they are very similar, they do have the differences between them because they're tailored to the shows. I mean, it's still probably feels Star Trek-y, all the different ones, but
yeah. And it's interesting that you might be able, you can combine it with the bridge thing and play multiple.
Yeah, well, no, like
time periods at the same time.
Yeah, like you can do that right now with the original and next generation, but the question is like, will it still work with this one, or do you need something else that they're going to release later on? Like here's another like small bit of cards that'll allow you to play with this one too. Just something simple. Who knows? Maybe. But all right. Let's move on though, because we still have a couple more topics that we can talk about. Let's talk about it belonging in a museum. It belongs in a museum.
No.
Let's talk about, well, museum.
Is there going to be a giant statue that calls you Dum Dum?
No, because that's entirely different museum franchise.
A night at the museum?
We're not spending a night there. We're Indiana Jonesing it and putting it in the museum. Because it belongs there. So
okay.
As he says. There we go. So it is available now. It's a set collection game where you play as a curator seeking to gain fame and fortune by amassing the most impressive, extensive display of galleries. And this is supposed to be 1900s museum, so it's very, Victorian,
Imperial.
Very imperial, where the exotic displays of things are going to be the best it is. You filled galleries in the museum from the different continents. So there's a Pacific, American Pacific, Europe, African, Middle East, and Asia are the ones that they call.
Hope you don't mind we're stealing your culture.
I mean, I don't think we're getting into that aspect of it. We are putting it on display at least so that people can respect it, but we still did steal your culture. Thank you very much.
Yes. Well, there's the whole thing going on in France where they're like talking about possibly giving back all the African art.
Mm.
And some people are like, no, it's now European. We own it. We preserve it. They can't take care of it. And it's like, but it was theirs.
I think that's one of those things that I respect a little bit, maybe a little bit more about American museums, at least nowadays. We don't have that same kind of, like, really old culture of stealing crap. We've stolen crap more modernly, so it's a lot harder to, and usually we had to be nicer to people to do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we didn't take over your country and go, by the way, all this stuff is ours now. We're moving it to Europe. But we want to look at it, too.
We asked if we could show up, and then after they said sure, we just took stuff. We asked first. We at least asked before we came in and took stuff. It's like, hey, can we just check out some of your stuff over there? I guess. Oh yeah, great, thank you. We're just gonna take this here now. Don't worry. You can check it out in our music. What?
all your bases belong to us.
Yeah. So the entire idea is, the basic mechanics is you place an artifact from your hand into the museum, and then to paid with one or several cards of equal or higher value, which are put into the discard pile. So basically, like, you might want a certain card in your hand out and play because it adds to the various collections you're building or something like that. So you get rid of another card from your hand so it's that you discard it without putting it into there. But the discard pile is more like a museum warehouse. It's because you each have your own discard pile. It's anything that's sort of in your possession but not displayed. But it does mean, apparently, that your discard pile is not free from other players taking from it. So that's one of those other things. It's like, I might discard this to play this one in my museum, but that means that someone else that might need that might do something to gain that one.
Right.
And they have a value which represents the points you gain by adding them to your museum. And you can create collections by posting cards adjacent to one another on your player board, kind of like in a real museum. And there's basically 12 different civilizations in the game, and 6 different archaeological domains, so you can combine them to create like an interesting score of like mixing and matching different things.
Okay, I'm just looking at the cards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you're getting Machu Picchu in your museum.
It's not all of Machu Picchu, it's a portion of Machu Picchu that you're setting up for this display. You know, like,
it just sounds kind of funny.
You know, like when you go to a museum and like they go to the ancient Egyptian area, and they've got like
the Philadelphia Art Museum has like a couple of areas that it's like, oh, here's a small portion of a village from this country, or
yeah,
I get that. It just kind of seems funny because it's like, oh look, here's a tunic, here's a bowl, here's an idol, here's Machu Picchu. Like, did we transport the entire city?
Yes, we stole the entire city of Machu Picchu. Look, I wanted a city, and it looked nice. It'll look very nice in our museum.
You must have a very large museum.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have a shrink ray.
Now, the weird thing is, also, they're like, this is now available. But they also have, apparently, some expansions that are available.
Interesting.
Yes. Where is it here? Yeah, yeah. There are multiple expansions available, which can bring more variety. The Archaeologists brings worker placement mechanic to the game. The World's Fair adds common objectives for players to fight for. The Black Market brings a more aggressive playstyle. And you can also play up to 5 players with the People's Choice expansion. And
are they all available, though?
They apparently also have a big box one that would have all of them, so you could buy the individual portions. I don't know. They advertise it on their page, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I don't know if
what's available. Yeah, I don't know.
And unfortunately, I don't see like a part of their site where you can buy direct from them.
No, it's an unfortunate thing.
So it's like, I can't tell. What do you? You mention these things, but you don't. I don't know if they're out.
I've seen
it might just be a museum that's available at the moment, and those are things to come.
Yeah, that's true. It very easily could be that way. That's.
But if you're advertising the big box set, then people might not buy it right away and wait for that to come out.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, if I know you're going to have one set that's everything, why wouldn't I just wait?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if they have a big box set that has all of them. Because that sounds like a lot of expansions is the other thing, too.
Oh,
what is that?
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Mm-hmm.
Museum, People's Choice, Gameplay, fifth player expansion is available at Walmart.
Maybe what it is, because maybe what I missed about this entire thing when I go to the museum, which I'm trying to actually look up quickly now, is maybe it was that the big box is available now. And that's what we're thinking about right now. I'm quickly checking up on the original place that I saw the news about it that drove me to their website to talk about it.
Right.
No. Oh, so it was a successful Kickstarter, which they sent to the rest of the backers. So that's why it has so much expansions to begin with. It's a Kickstarter. Oh. Yeah, okay, that makes sense now. it was a big successful Kickstarter. They probably I probably want to look up the Musuem actually Kickstarter page now. Musuem Kickstarter. Yep, here we go. Ooh, God. Yeah. They have like a huge bundle and stuff.
Okay,
oh,
so
yeah. Oh God, yeah. So they went for 3,500 euros, I think it is, and they got 253,000.
And here's the thing: the expansion, the big box expansion, that is its own. That is an add-on to the main game. It doesn't have the main game in it. But the big box expansion has all the expansions in it, plus some extra.
Okay, so it's got like the World's Fair Archaeologist Black Market.
It says add a 5th player to your game. Each earn the People's Choice token for the bonus points of the game. Where is it? I just saw. Oh, components. Everything you need to add a 5th player to the base game and all expansions. 10 People's Choice cards and 1 People's Choice token.
Okay.
So that's that you still need to buy the base game to get that.
And it does seem like they have a couple of things from the Kickstarter that they haven't released yet that they've kept as an exclusive. They had like the Crystal Skulls, like some tile cards and stuff, and a Cthulhu Relics one, which they may eventually release. I mean, that's one of those things about Kickstarter exclusives. If they keep it exclusives, it's fine, whatever. They kept it exclusive. But if they give it like a year or two and then maybe release it, like, to give it like an exclusivity time, I prefer it then. Because not all of us can get on the Kickstarter. We didn't see that this was kickstarted up, right away. That was something that I wouldn't have known about at the time,
I just found someone who's selling the Grand Gallery Edition, which is everything including the Kickstarter exclusives for $150.
Oh God, it was $85 when you did it for the Kickstarter, so they're definitely getting a price hike on that one. But again, then it's the Grand Gallery bundle. You can't really get it anymore now, where you're not pledging at this point in time. They've released the game. Even if they had late pledges, you're beyond late pledges,
Yeah. So it's like, you want it, you gotta pay a premium.
But no, I mean, like, with the amount of money they earned, it does make a lot of sense that now when they're finally releasing it, after they've gotten everything to their Kickstarter backers, they have so many expansions at once. That's one of those things that I guess we have to get used to nowadays, is that there are games, especially when they're kickstarted, that they come out with a lot of material all at once.
Yeah, so it looks like if you want to buy Musuem, the normal price is $59.99. I found it on some places for $40. And then if you want to get the big expansion, they had that at Walmart for $23.70.
Also, the expansion with all the little expansions that would be Black Market,
World's Fair, about $65 with all that.
So, okay, that's not bad. Especially for, 4 expansions, a 5th player, and then 3 special expansions, which I kind of get an idea of why they probably separated them out. Each of them brings very unique dynamics to the game. Like an archaeologist one for, worker placement mechanic, the World's Fair for common objectives, the Black Market for basically aggressive playstyle, which you might not always want to play with all these different things. So,
right.
Yeah. Neat. It's fun to understand this more and more. It's like, usually I start out with a certain point in time and, look through it and, read through it a little bit, but there's always, those little details that you always miss when you're doing it. And it's like, oh, wait, there's a ton of expansions. I didn't notice here down the bottom them talking about it. What does this all mean? Oh, wait, it means a lot. Anyway. So, yeah. Musuem seems fun. It does.
Yeah, it looks interesting.
It seems like an interesting thing, the idea of, again, we made our jokes about imperialistic acquirements of things for your museum, and it's probably what you're doing in the game, but take it with a light of You're reflecting on the Victorian people and their, wish to protect things there.
No, just be ruthless and kill everyone.
I mean, you could. Yep. All right. I think we have one more topic I wanted to handle today. Let's move on to that one. Let's talk about... Oh, that's good enough for me. I'm not going to adjust that because it looks pretty good. Pandemic Rapid Response. So, that's the thing is, it's a pandemic game. If you don't know about Pandemic and the thing they've done, it's basically the idea of, there's a plague going on somewhere and you've got to undo it. Technically, the base game Pandemic is there's like 4 plagues going on at once that you have to get rid of. Everybody's dying around the world. Stop it. So Rapid Response is a different take on that because it's a real-time board game, as they call it, because it has the idea of the hourglass, so you're working against time to coordinate things. So apparently, in the US, it's being sold exclusively at Target. Outside the US, standard board game channels. So Z-Man Games has made a deal with Target. Now this one...
odd.
Yeah. So this one, getting back to the game though, to get a little away from that one, is... the entire deal is you're a critical response unit. There's like a natural disaster of some kind, and some places around the world need food, water, vaccines, or other supplies based on what kind of disaster it is. So I'm wondering if it's supposed to be just a disease-based disaster, or will you have other types of natural disasters that you might have to deal with, and those would require different responses. I'm interested to know about that. So you're supposed to be like a part of the international organization. You have a military-grade cargo plane that stores valuable supplies, and you can go anywhere, anytime, and save humanity at the time. So it's basically based on that you have to respond in a set amount of time to make sure no one dies, or everybody doesn't die, or only a certain amount of people dies. I don't know. It's basically to determine what cities need, what type of aid. Get those supplies together and fly to the disaster zone to drop them off before time runs out. So it's interesting to see like each city card basically says kind of like the kind of things that you need, whether it's like medical supplies, water, food, vaccines. Those are the only symbols I've seen on the cards so far, that it marks out with. Oh, water. Did I say water? I may have. And you're supposed to fill the plane with all these things and go to there, in time. It's got a set of custom dice that you're using to accommodate it. You each take turns as quickly as possible as the sand time is running down. You can roll the dice up to 3 times to try to get the symbols that you need to spend those dice as actions. And I'm guessing that you need a certain amount of stuff to qualify for each of the things. Like, you might need to roll a certain amount of food to get the food supply, to get like the 1 or more food supplies you need to put in the plane to deliver it to wherever you're going. Yeah. And there's different...
Well, it's at least better than the last one they put out.
There's been a lot of weird ones they've put out.
The one, it was,
was it like the Roman one?
The Pompeii one?
I don't know, it might have been the Pompeii one. I was remembering
where it's like, that's not a disease.
Well, it's also like, wasn't it like the locks were failing in Holland or something? Yeah.
Like, these aren't pandemics.
This one could at least involve a pandemic. A natural disaster could lead to widespread disease and stuff, so it makes sense that, like a rapid response team would be sent handing out medical supplies and vaccines possibly to make sure people the problems after disaster don't spread and it doesn't become worse after said disaster. So at least I can say that this one fits in the universe. The idea of the pandemic.
Yeah.
They have their own elite team of 7 characters, each with their unique abilities. They give them names which are different than before, so I guess they're trying to make a universe or something. I don't know. Characters? I don't know. And each of them has their own special abilities, which are very helpful. So, yeah. It's supposed to be out in Target on the 23rd of June. So coming up next month. And they're going to put out a lot of languages, which is awesome.
Just weird that it's only Target.
For the U.S.
Yeah.
Yes. How much did Target pay? Is Pandemic really that big of a name that Target would have to pay that much money anyway? Why did they want exclusivity on a board game?
I don't know. It's strange.
Oh God, it's strange. I mean, exclusivities I've heard about before. Like, we've heard about different kind of exclusive things, but normally it's not like this. I mean, like, will it ever show up in something like local game stores here in the U.S.? I don't know.
Right.
Or is it only going to be in Targets for a period of time, and then, well, you're out of luck?
Yeah.
No.
And why Target, not like something like Amazon?
Yeah, like Amazon, where it feels like it would be much more widespread, I'd understand that. It's granted it's an online store, but yeah. I mean, because it's physically in Targets is the thing too, and maybe you can order it through their website, but like after Amazon, I don't know where I would put Target's online website as like my go-to for a website that would be useful. Like, I put Amazon high up there always. I know that the Walmart website is pretty good for here in the US, but Target? I don't know. And it's available in other normal ways outside the US. So, like, are they getting it from their local game stores in, France or Italy?
Right.
It's a weird one. It's very unusual. So, oh boy. Anyway, yeah. I think that's pretty good on talking about those topics. Since we don't have our guest and we might not be getting him today, then it looks like I haven't heard back from him at all at this point in time for quite a bit. So we're going to assume that he will not be able to join us today. Apologize for those of us that showed up for Ed joining us. We're going to reschedule him, hopefully, and hopefully still have him be able to join us in the future.
Yes.
Let's move on to our regular segments, though. You know what? Let's start with our deeper discussion, because there was one I wanted to talk about, because I reflected on the fact that when we got one of the games that we talked about right away, I don't think we've had a proper deeper discussion, just actual talk about it, that we got from some people. And I wanted to make sure we got that in, actually. We broke it down a little bit more. It has been a while since we played it, but I want to have us break it down and discuss it a little bit more. Shifting Realms, the one we got from the Soaring Rhino people that we played with them. I think we've had a couple of times to play it, and I think it was something that we've talked a little bit about here on the program before when we've played it a couple of times. I think we played it on our Weekend Tabletop. We talked about one time we played it. We talked about it a little bit when we first had a chance at PAX to play it. Now, if you don't know about this game, you randomly select 3 worlds, and each of these worlds basically have end conditions that when you meet the end condition for 2 of the 3 worlds, the game ends. And you build up stuff along the way. Basically, each of these realms, because you're selecting out of the 5, 3 of them randomly, you build stuff on those boards. There's like tiles that you place, and you place stuff that marks them as your own, And the combination of those gives you points and gives you resources to do various things over the course of it. You have to recruit soldiers and scouts. Scouts getting you resources, soldiers protecting them from dangers and from other players. And each of the realms has very different ways of playing. I think we've played with the pirates. Have we played with the pirates both times? Where they're all about,
I think so.
Gold. I know we played with the orcs. Was it that they were very military hit?
Yeah, orcs are very military.
Yeah, and then the dwarves we played with too, I think. And we played with, I think it was the elves last time. We haven't played with the priests, though.
Yes.
So they each had their own unique layout. They each had their own unique tiles. So it does have a lot of replayability, definitely, because you can have the combinations of them alone causing a different replayability, let alone how many players you have, because it's 2 to 4 players. And, then again, it's like everything can look the same, and as a game that you definitely can have much different things, because, if I played the same set of people, they know my strategy from before, they might interfere with my strategy. That's for sure.
Right. No, it's a great game.
No, we had a lot of fun with it. I would definitely highly recommend it. It didn't take too long to play overall. I think for us it took usually around that hour mark. I think because we've only played it on our own once, for a period of time, it took us a little longer to do that. We did play it with, we got a copy from the creators and got a chance to play it with them too, with one of them, with one of the brothers that did it. I'm forgetting their names off the top of my head because I'd messaged them.
Oh, God.
I had sent them a message the other day, which I haven't heard anything from them, unfortunately, yet. But still, I did manage to send them that. Jeff, I think, was the one that showed us stuff.
Thank you. I'm trying to look up the company real quick. I'm like,
yes, it's Craig and Jeff. I'm not going to get the last name because I don't have that right here. But we talked to you talked to Craig, and I think Jeff was the one that approached us.
Yes.
And it showed us how to play the game, which was really great because it made it a lot easier to go through the rules. The rules aren't too difficult, though, if you're doing it on your own. I definitely don't think they're a problem to do it. It's all about trying to figure out where you want to build, because you technically can build on all 3 realms. It's just a matter of figuring out your balancing act between them, trying to go for the end game as much as you can, while still maintaining a control for resources. Because it's all about the different resources and gathering them and where you need them. Because some places might need more stone, some might need more gold, others might need more wood. And it's knowing when and where you're going to need those resources and what's good to build. Because you also have a limited amount of things you could really build before you're stretched too thin. You have only X amount of scouts, you have X amount of tokens which mark what you've built. And once you run out of those, you can't really build anything else. I think you might be able to abandon stuff to build something else, but then it's getting rid of something else for something new, and is it worth it then? Hard to say.
Yeah, and I know they're going to be releasing an expansion later this year for it, too, called Shifting Realms Darkness Revealed.
Mm-hmm. So that'll probably give a couple more realms to play with, which I think that's the best way. Is like if you have an expansion that adds like 2 more realms, that's going to vastly change the gameplay. I mean, that's what it is. It's going to add a lot to replayability and gameplay and such a thing. So there's a lot of strategy to the game, definitely, because you have to figure out what you want to strategize into to get enough points while balancing resources and all those things. We had a very fun time with it. We enjoy it. We'll probably play it some more, definitely. The folks over at Soaring Rhino have done a great job on it. We highly recommend it. I just wanted to kind of throw a little bit more talking about it on the technical side out here. Again, just because we've talked a little bit about it here on the show, but we hadn't dove too deep into the mechanics, and things like that. So, check out Shifting Realms. All right. How about we move on to our next regular segment, though, our Kickstarter Korner. Hey, Joe. I can get rid of this for now. You got something for our Kickstarter Korner today?
Bam! This is something that you probably also would be highly interested in. It's Gene Funk 2090. Futuristic gameplay. It's a biopunk world made for 5.
Oh, breaking up a little bit here. Let me. Oops. I'm gonna switch just servers for a second, because I keep forgetting that because I'm from US East, that Discord defaults to US East, and Discord and US East is the most heavy traffic, and therefore, oftentimes, has problems.
Okay, is that better?
Oh yeah, now we're not having those problems. It was USD servers again.
Right. Okay, so Gene Funk 2090. It's a biopunk world made for 5e.
Oh, so you're using 5th edition D&D rules. Okay, neat.
But it's that futuristic, bio augmentation, cybernetic augmentation.
Yeah.
Feel to it. You have a supercomputer basically in your bloodstream. You're always on the net.
Okay.
And they've apparently, there is virtual immortality for the rich who can afford to have themselves completely uploaded to the net.
Ooh. Interesting.
It got funded within the first day, I think it was.
Okay.
But they're at $14,064 out of a $3,721 goal. And they have 4 days ago, almost 399 backers. By donating, you do get to be able to join the their beta 4 playtest.
Okay.
You can use things from D&D in it. The only thing is, their world is not set up for magic, so you might have to change flavoring of things. It says.
All right. Yeah, they might, rather than having something like be magical, you might have to make it like technology based or something like that, or genetics based.
And apparently there has been other Gene Funk books before, but this one, you only need the 2090 core book. You don't need any of the previous books.
Interesting.
So I thought it looked really. I think the look of it looks really cool.
Yeah.
I like the flavor. I mean, we both have cut our teeth on this style of game.
Yes.
And the character sheet does actually remind you of a D&D character sheet a bit.
Well, it means they're probably keeping it relatively simple.
To keep it streamlined. Your stats are the same: strength, dex, con, int, wisdom, charisma.
Yeah.
You do get skills that are and they just have it like skills that are based off each one next to the stat.
All right.
So, it seems like a very streamlined. If you know how to do D&D, you can join in on this easily.
Cool.
And they've done several unlocks. They unlocked pre-gen characters, the GM screen, offset print run, and roll 20 tokens and sheet. Oh, so you can do this on roll 20.
That's cool.
Yeah. They have not unlocked the art boost in cards or the setting book Shadows of Korea yet.
All right. So still some.
Those are at 25,000 and 40,000, which they might make the 20,000 in another 4 days. I doubt the 40.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless there's a giant,
Well,
push at the end. But they. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I said they could
Oh yeah, it's possible, but it's not as likely. They sold out of their top one though, which was a pledge of 499 Canadian dollars.
Wow.
Which you got 4 hardcover Gene Funk books, the 2020 core rule book. You got 4 PDFs of it, 4 Musuem Bambuzi, a starter investigation, and 4 copies of the PDF Gene Funk 2090 character sheet, custom art, and they will GM a Gene Funk session with up to 3 of your friends.
Neat.
They sold out of those completely.
Yeah. Neat.
And that was the highest tier. And there's only one left of the second highest tier, which is 349.
Yeah, their high tier ones have sold out pretty decently. So
yeah,
cool.
I mean, even but there are 279. There's 2 left. There were 179. There's 4 left. But honestly, just the base $19 one gets you all the PDFs for everything.
Cool.
Which isn't bad. And if you want to go on up from there, it's $50. You get the hardcover Gene Funk and then all the PDFs.
Neat. All right. Well, I unfortunately had a trouble this week, I have to say, because there was a lot of interesting art Kickstarters that are actually out, and that was a problem. So there was a couple that I think I was thinking of talking about a couple of different ones, and it took me a while to kind of settle on that. I usually talk about RPGs more than anything, and so I'd probably stick to just talking about some RPGs, which I will talk about a couple of them. But I will give a couple of shout-outs to a couple Kickstarters which are ongoing for a couple companies that I follow online, just to give some shout-out to them, just because, you know, I like giving support to some of the independent ones. Stronghold Games has Exia the Shifting Sands. I will link all these in the chat, though, you know. It's a, you know, strategy game about boats and bricks for 2 to 4 players, basically kind of traveling along the Nile and, you know, helping build the pyramids and stuff like that. So it's fun. It's funded, so if you want to get it, it's a one that's funded. The other one is from Tiny Minstrel Games has Dragon Interest, which I wanted to quickly shout out, which they're almost funded. They're at like 75%. They got 20 days to go, which is quite a while. Which you're borrowing gold from a dragon to rebuild your kingdom, but you also have to be able to pay back the dragon. Or, you know, bad stuff happens. So it's banking with a dragon. There you go. You know, it's pretty simple. Banking with a dragon.
What do you do when they shortchange you?
It's when you shortchange the dragon and hope it doesn't get back and murder you. Yep. So, there were a number of role-playing games I also kind of wanted to give a shout-out to, just because there were 3 good ones that I thought were interesting that came out this week. The first one is Hearts of Wulin. So Hearts of Wulin, it's basically, to describe it, it's martial arts RPG. It's funded with 22 days to go, so you definitely could throw into it. But just to keep things relatively simple about it, it's trying to emulate, you know, like a lot of the classic, you know, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and other, like, you know, classic Chinese martial arts movies, TV series, and novels, and kind of things that have come along, you know, where it's very more, it's a romantic version of that entire, like, time period with a lot of martial arts, and that's what it's trying to recreate. So, you know, that I thought was just cool in general. The other RPG I wanted to shout out, because again, I couldn't decide between them, so I'm just doing a bunch of shout outs, and one that I'll go into depth about is Golgotha, which is, it's a sci-fi exploration, but it's all about exploring, like, dead worlds and ruined worlds. So you're basically going to tomb worlds kind of thing, you know, and exploring those in space. So it's got
Would I be a Tomb Raider?
You would be sci-fi Tomb Raider. It's funded with 9 days to go, so it's another one that's funded. I think the entire idea is to find Golgotha, the true tomb world, and you're kind of exploring, old, ancient, dead places through lost technologies, that kind of things, in order to find your way to this one, final place, a dead world, and explore it itself. So, yeah. Now, the one that I wanted to give the most information about is, of course, Grimmer Space, which has a very weird name, but it's sci-fi horror. It's funded also with 29 days to go. It's 600% with 29 days to go, so let me put it that way. It is really like it. So this one, it's supposed to be Starfinder compatible. So that's one of the reasons normally I try to shout out single RPGs. But this is kind of interesting because they're using the Starfinder system mostly to bring about take its sci-fi system and add horror to it. And that's why I was kind of interested in talking more about this one. You're supposed to choose your horror type, whether it's it's type, intensity, how it's doing, how the terror fits your play style. Yeah. So, it's set in a science-only galaxy secretly invaded by ancient wizards from the other side of the universe. So there is, a magic level to it, but it's supposed to be, those people that have learned something like magicians. It could be just, they've developed very powerful abilities, and it seems only magical, but they're ancient, wizard types from the other side of the universe. It's supposed to be yeah. Huh. Wait a second. Man. Either he has the same... No, it's him. Oh my god. So... I didn't realize this until now. They have one of their creative developers is...
Ed?
No, Sean Astin.
Oh.
From Goonies and Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, Sean Astin.
Cool.
Yeah. I was like, Sean Astin. I had to, blink for a second and be like... Because they've got, it's just I didn't notice this earlier. It's a word from him, and I'm like, is that? And I just quickly had to, Google the picture, and I'm like, no, it is! It's Sean Astin! Holy crack! So they have a free adventure to it, free to check it out, too. God, that's just one of those weird things that I didn't even realize the creative director is Sean Astin. Yeah. And they got a lot of, things they're offering for it, add-ons and stuff. So, I mean, if you want to check it out, they have a free adventure you can click to download. So.
Cool.
I'll leave it there because, we don't want to go too in-depth on anything too much because, I had a whole crap ton of shout-outs.
Shout, let it all out.
Let's talk about our week in tabletop. Yes. All right. Let's see. Where did we start out with?
Now, let's see. Last Saturday, we just played some Magic.
Yes. Last Saturday, we played Magic, which, was a fun thing to do. We haven't played Magic in a while. Yeah,
we got to play one hand and see a friend that we hadn't seen in a while.
So, no, that was fun. We pulled out a bunch of decks and, hit the chest and, had some fun. So, definitely...
And you and I ended up both playing Eldrazi decks, which was odd.
Oh, God, what's mine? Yeah, mine...
Well, you had some Eldrazi in it, at least.
Yes. Mine had the Eldrazi because it was meant to help sacrifice things to them, kind of thing,
Right.
I was playing a sacrifice deck. So
where I actually had... Mine was an actual Eldrazi deck.
Yeah.
But I got none of my tokens.
So that was interesting. Yeah.
Yes. Saturday or Sunday, I mean, we play. What did we play on stream?
We played
Alhambra.
Alhambra. Yes.
Alhambra. I was close.
It was close enough. Alhambra's fun. I think with
max players, it's too many.
It is very difficult with max players. I will agree on that one. I think it's one of those ones that probably having less players to it would have been better. It was still fun, but it definitely detracted from the ability for us to do what we needed to in the game a lot of times.
Yeah, I ended up having no strategy and just going, I'll buy what I can.
It made strategy hard. Not impossible, but a lot harder than we would have liked. Definitely, I can agree. We managed, though, we played. I think, I sort of built a strategy, but it wasn't a good enough strategy. And, it's sort of I think...
Your walls were amazing.
My walls were amazing. I think what Blaze said is he didn't look to a strategy until it was your turn. So after your turn, he was beginning to plan what he was going to do. So he was using then right after your turn when he only had 2 people he had to deal with in front of him. Because with 2 people, things might change a little bit, but the chances of things changing a lot were slim. Where I think that's something that I wasn't doing. I was thinking ahead. I was trying to think as soon as my turn was done, the kind of things I could do, and that was not the right way to do it.
My problem was it was normally the turn break before me or 2 turns before me, someone would take what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I just was well, I have no money because money was horrible that game.
It was up and down when we could get it right decently, and yeah.
My turns, there was only one turn that there was ever multiple pieces I could take. Otherwise, it was always just there's one piece you can take.
Yep.
So it was fun, but it was frustrating.
Yep.
And then did you have your game on Tuesday?
We didn't have Tuesday because 2 of us were out. Umber was having some interviews for some things, which I'd check in with him. Hopefully everything went well. And Jess was traveling back to England. So she was in the midst of travel. So it was only Carpe that was free, unfortunately. So we didn't have Tuesday. But when we did have Thursday, where we played D&D, which if you didn't catch it, it was a very role-playing heavy one. I'm very happy because I got to use some of my NPCs that I did actually put to... The thing is, I put these NPCs together pretty interestingly. Most of them, I started out with the basics, and then I basically used the Pathfinder random NPC rules to come up with lots of weird things about them, and then write those stories together to make these characters. So all of them have very interesting backstories that make sense in the ways that they've been built together.
The brother blacksmiths were interesting to deal with.
Because one of them is really gritty and dirty, and the other is actually really clean shaven and kind of pompous. The one brother yells at a bird to yell at his brother, a lot. The poor bird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's very interesting that all of the characters are really interesting, and it's just unfortunately, since you don't spend a lot of time in town, it's hard to get a good excuse to use them and throw together these NPCs.
I just feel bad for Mads.
Yes, because she's been kind of broken, and her character has one way of fixing it, but we haven't done that yet until the next episode, which we know about now, which I will make sure happens. I have an idea that I can kind of push forward. You okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I have an idea that'll push it forward very quickly, so we should have it within the first couple of minutes, fix everything. Yay, great. Excellent.
Which would be great, because I just felt bad that the only thing she was able to do the entire session was talk as Fafnir a few times.
Yeah. Yep.
I felt bad for her. But I know she hadn't given you what needed to be done to bring her out of it.
No. And the thing is, back at town is where it would have to be happened at.
Right.
Is the unfortunate thing.
Well, we still got to town rather quickly.
Yes.
But she had not specified what needed to be done, or we could have already had done it early in that session.
Well, you could have figured it out a little bit more too,
Yeah.
or like if you had known more, maybe you could like do more next time or something like that. There's a lot of details to it that maybe we can fix things in the future of like getting more to these points in times where her character's emotional and traumatic issues are coming to the solar surface, and you can help fix them. We'll find out. Yeah. So that was our week in tabletop. As for Ask the Tabletop, is if you have any questions for us out there, you can either leave it here in chat right away. If you're here in chat with us right now, you could throw it into my Discord at some point in time. You can hit us up on Twitter at Dracovin for me, at JWSeeker81 for Joe. You can either message us in any way through that. You can email us at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. Or when this video does eventually go up in the next couple of days up on YouTube, you can actually throw it up on the YouTube comments of this episode. Any way that you want to throw out any kind of questions for us, go ahead. We will either answer them right then and there as best we can if it's just something simple, or if it seems like something that would be good to just bring onto the discussion here, we'll bring it on. Like if you give us some kind of like question about like building the best certain type of magic deck, we'll probably discuss it here. We'll probably give you some opinions on like what we think would be the best ways to build decks, or for character building or something like that. Something that, something that's not simple. But simple questions, we'll probably just answer them then, or be willing to discuss them as much as possible. So throw us questions. We're willing to answer them. Not just tabletop too, nerdy questions too. We're pretty big nerds. But anyway, I think that's it for today. We've been going on for a bit.
Aye, Captain.
Yep. We probably would have gone on closer to our top end, our 2-hour mark, if we had Ed here, unfortunately. Or fortunately, but we don't have him, unfortunately. There we go. That's the correct terms for it. Hopefully, we can get him another week in the future. We can reschedule for him, see about having him pop on, talk about the work he does, the things he's done, and just talk with us about some tabletop. And, yeah. I'll probably announce that when I know more about what's going on with him and about a rescheduling of it. Just stay tuned for more announcements on people that'll be joining us and things like that, too, in the future. Yep. We'll be back next week. We're on schedule for it. If you want to check out some more tabletop stuff, Sundays of Tabletop should be on schedule for tomorrow. And then Legacies of the King will hopefully be returning next week. We should have everybody. Same with Madness and Land, should be back next week. We're supposed to be getting a special guest. We'll see about that too. I'll have more announcements when I know more as we're getting closer to all these things. But, just check it out. And we'll hope that you'll join us next week. So, yep. Thanks for joining me as usual, Joe.
Yep, of course. And everyone, have a great week. See everyone tomorrow night for some tabletop fun.
Yep. And we'll both see you next week, if that's all you're going to show up for. Then, bye.
Bye.